Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Driven Leadership Podcast. We're here to talk about what it takes to make it happen as real, authentic, passionate leaders. This week is an amazing episode because we have Jennifer Bagley on the podcast in our second installment of our episodes about change. And we invited Jen on the show because as the CEO of a tech company, change is written into the DNA of CI Web Group. It has to be by default, right? Things change so frequently and fast within tech. And Jen, as the CEO and visionary of CI Web Group, is one of the most amazing people to talk about it because she views change as an absolute must, but she also knows how to bring people along and create that buy-in. So we really hope you enjoy this episode. She brings some real practicality to this discussion of change and how to make it happen in a company with a large amount of employees. And then at the end, she also talks about the upcoming changes in AI and how you can embrace that change and let it impact your environment in a positive way. So stick around to the end. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I loved being able to sit down alongside Mary to talk to Jen Bagley with CI Web Group.
I am super excited to have Jennifer Bagley on as a podcast guest. We got to be on her podcast. Yeah. And, funny story. Well, it's not funny, but it is to us. So in 2019 in San Antonio, we were at a Dyke and Train the Trainer event. It was our first one that we had gone to. And we were doing the conflict thing. And you were just like all into it. You walk up to me and you're like, "You're my peeps. Like, I love this shit. You're my peeps." And then you get up to speak and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was so engaged. And I looked at Eric. Eric looks at me and he goes, "We've got to get to know her." And it was so crazy how, things aligned and we would see each other at different events. And every time I got around you, it was like, I need to get to know Jennifer Bagley. And then when it came time for Bold, Clay raises his hand first, and then Mike goes, and you're at his graduation. You're going the next week, and you're like, what the hell happened to my husband?
Did you do him?
I know. And then she's in class, and my whole thing is I always love people seeing who they truly are. And we can play, and you play 100%. I mean, you're always playing at full speed. But oftentimes, your full speed, is 70%. And people think it's 100%. And as high performers, we don't often get the feedback or the ability to pull even more out. It's like, how do I squeeze more blood out of a tournament? I don't even know where that term came from. But all of a sudden, you get to see and you get to play even bigger. And so as we talk about the power of change, I think about you and all the change that you've done, all the change that you live in who you are. And before we dive in, I just really want to say, I freaking love you. And I am so grateful that you are here and I got time with you.
I love you, Mary. When I said my peeps, I meant that with all my heart. And I don't pick up very often. With you and Eric, it took 2 seconds. You can say, that is my family for life.
Yeah. Isn't it weird how there are different people who come into our life? You hear the reason, season, lifetime. Yep. And there's a certain connection that you just feel with people. And it's like, no, these are my lifetime peeps. Yeah. So change, the power of change. In Bold, we talk about run to the roar. And I know we bring it up a lot. And for the people who don't know, it's the analogy of, we came across this book years ago called Run to the Roar. And it talks about how lions hunt, and lions, they're like 500 pounds of massive muscle. They're known for their strength, not for their endurance. They can run a football field, 40, 50 miles an hour. They can jump 30 feet and then they're tuckered out. And they have this roar that is incredible that's been tracked for over 5 miles. And they're hunting antelope. And antelope are known for their endurance. Antelope can start off at a run at 61 miles an hour. And they can run, it's something like 30 miles an hour for 23 miles. So you have strength versus endurance. And this pride of lions is hunting the antelope. But they have a great grandma lion who is old, diseased. She might be dying. Her teeth are falling. She can't hunt, but she has this roar. And so she's out here crouching, and the rest of the pride, the fierce, the strong, they're flanking, and grandma lets out this roar. And the antelope, what they do is they run away right into the trap. And I always think that's life. Grandma lion is our fear. Grandma lion is change. Grandma lion is the shit that keeps us up at night. The I should have, I wish I would have, or whatever and we don't do it. And human nature is we go right back into the trap of complacency and we don't change, but then we get angry. And when I think about you and all that you do, you are the epitome of change. So why is change important to you? Or how is it important to you?
I believe that the lack of change is more scary than change. Like for me, there is no way in hell I'm going to stay still. I feel like the comfort zone is the worst place to remain. This is, I think that some of it comes from necessity, right? I started this business as a single mom with no friends or family in Texas, leaving corporate in my early 20s. And without change, I would have failed. I mean, I also think there's some piece of it that being a single mom for many, many, many years, like most of his childhood, I think that it gives you some kind of strength that, I don't think it was manufactured. I don't necessarily think it was a decision back then. I think it was a necessity. It was a requirement, right? To take care of this young man, I'm going to have to evolve, and I'm going to have to evolve a lot. And I didn't really have anybody to lean on in that space. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I was in the corporate environment, and I was really good in corporate, moving from company to company, role to role, moving up the chain really, really fast. And I always picked, these perfect mentors. Like, for whatever reason, I had this knack for finding the change maker, the change creator in each of the corporations that I had worked within. And I think that was helpful because I started listening and, asking a tremendous amount of questions and figuring out, how did you get here? Most all of them were women as well. Mm-hmm. Almost all of them were single moms in an odd, I don't know if I guess we attract that what we are. But each one of them, I just started diving in and asking them questions and really having those conversations. There was one woman, Shereen Hunsinger from Nordstrom. I was in my early 20s, and she was a smoker. She was the head of strategy for Nordstrom. And every time she would have a smoke break, I would be like, well, I'll go hang out with you and keep you company. Let me stand on the corner. This smells like horrid. However, I'm going to go stand and hang out with you. Mm-hmm. And those conversations, like, they were all about change. It was all about being resilient. It was all about not having a fear of failure. It was all about, risk and every step that they took that brought them, some new hurdle that was a good ass whooping that they loved and learned from. And I think that's, I think that not only just mentors, but I'll give you one more piece that helped drive this home. When I was contemplating leaving corporate and I wanted to start my own business, I was like 28 years old, I think then. And I had relocated to Texas for another position. This was at Fossil Watches. And I was telling my dad, by now, Terrell's, I think, 2. And I was telling my dad I wanted to start this business. And I was like, what do you think? Like, I've got stock options. I've got insurance. I've got this nice fancy little house. I got a boat. I'd done pretty well in corporate for a 20-something-year-old. And he said, well, if it's pulling on your strings, you got to do it. He was like, just know this, it's going to suck. So suck it with a smile.
Wow.
Oh
my God.
That is the first time I've ever heard that.
Well, I just want to know where everyone's mind went to. Like, hello.
Wow, that's incredible.
Wow.
But I feel like that was the easiest version of change, right? He was like, it's gonna suck. Just suck it with us.
Yeah.
You're never gonna forget that, though.
No, you don't.
Forget it. I want to put it on a t-shirt.
Right. Here's my slogan. But it's what you just said with the gal at Nordstrom's.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you want an ass whooping. There's something different about high performers that they look for the ass whooping. They look for the change. They look to get uncomfortable. They don't make excuses. Yeah, they might fall down, but they get back up and they're like, how do I do it even better? How do we do it? We've been talking about mindset, and it is amazing. And I hear this over and over and over, and that's you. And you said, I don't have a choice, but we do have a choice. It's just you chose to get up.
Yeah.
You chose to fight. You chose to change. And that's what makes you different. And so now you have this marketing company. And a lot of times as that entrepreneur, that leader of an organization, you have the vision, you have the fight, but then we hire people that they have to make it come, they have to make it come to reality, and they don't like change. So how do you manage that gap?
And I would say, like, how do you integrate it as part of your culture?
Perfect. That's where I was going to start. I mean, I'll say that I failed fast in this because, like Connor, what you just said was the missing piece for many, many years. It's who I am. I'm going to drive. I'm going to lead. I'm going to make sure that we are putting our foot forward, probably before the majority of people around me, competitors and so forth. But it took getting very, very clear in our vision, our mission, and our culture, and defining that out loud. Our 5 pieces of our culture, if you don't fit those from day one, at least now you know that way up front. Like, instead of bringing on people and then testing to see if they had the same kind of resilience, the same kind of adaptation and need for change, the same type of vision and strategy, the same type of speed that we want, right? Those were things that for many, many, many years, they were just part of my soul, but it wasn't something that I tried to scare people away with. And now, like, you're not getting on an interview where I don't make sure you understand this is who the hell we are. This is how we function. And if this isn't a right fit, like, call it now. This isn't a job. This is a team of people who are highly passionate about continuing to evolve, continuing to change, continuing to defy the status quo, continuing to reinvent ourselves, continuing to become more accountable, continuing to challenge and pursue greatness in ourselves and each other, that we value direct feedback. We value evolution. We do not value status quo. We do not. It's not in our blood. And I've made a million mistakes. Well, I can actually look at the roster of no longer employed, and I can probably count, 100. So, and part of that is my fault. I'll take accountability for not being wildly clear about who the hell we are and how we go to market, what we believe in, because, now, our team, they are freaking incredible. Our team is studying. We have lots of little ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, like systems, right? So we have an open forum system. So during the open forum, I'll get on with the crew and I have the managers join, but the managers and directors, they all keep their cameras off. They can sit back and listen, but I have powwow directly with the crew, ground, everybody that's on the ground doing the work. The people that have some of the biggest, greatest ideas. And Mary, that came from, I started that open forum when I left Bold. That was a big eye-opening moment for me, that I wasn't listening to the quiet people. I was only listening to the people that are as loud as I am. Right? And so I switched it up and I was like, I'm going to quiet all the voices that are the loudest, and I'm going to go directly to the crew and I'm going to have a conversation with them and get it to where they're, they are excited and have a safe space to be able to let me have it and tell me what the hell we're doing wrong or what we should be doing or what we're not considering or what we're not paying attention to, or, to open my eyes. That's been wildly beneficial. We also have a tech channel in our Slack area where they are constantly listening to podcasts, watching videos, reading about information, and they're sharing information. So it's a culture of sharing things that are wow factors. We have a coffee chat where everybody shares a wicked tool or a way they can automate something, or could be a keyboard, whatever, whatever that is. Like just all these little things that make it so that the people that we're surrounded by are constantly learning, constantly evolving, and challenging themselves. And this year has taken that to a whole new level. Obviously, with the introduction of AI, that's a rabbit hole I had no idea we were going down. I was coming to the extent that it is, but it's interesting. In the beginning, I think that there was a lot of, it depends on who you're following online. There's a lot of feeling that AI is going to take over my job. And I was like, bullshit, AI is not going to take over your job. AI is going to take over the humans who don't use AI. So you're fine. You guys are golden. Like, let's go. You're good, because right now, everyone has a challenge to identify one or two processes on a month that they can automate with AI. And we've built an entire crew. That's our forward-thinking crew, our stakeholder group. This task force is responsible for bringing us into the future. And we've got 6 resources that's all they're doing, is figuring out, how do I leverage AI? How do I build AI agents? How do I automate what we're doing? How do we revamp our entire product and service line, just across the entire company?
Well, and that happened in the last 6 months, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and so when I think about change, and change is constant, but change freaks people out. And if we don't change, and especially in what y'all do, we get left behind. Like 100%, we get left behind. So how do you coach? Because there are people who are the early adopters. There's the laggers, right? But they still have a seat on the bus in your team. So how do you coach people through when they're stuck and they don't want to change? They know change is necessary, but it's hard.
Oh, so I will say that we started by sending our team to both, because it's a hell of a lot easier to send them to a 3-day program where they come out new humans than it is for me to take a 1-hour meeting, or, one-on-ones or quarterly reviews or all of the things that we have time to do. And that was a pinnacle move, was making sure that every leader on our team has been through both. That was huge. I feel like it compressed time. I mean, that would have taken us years to get that amount of evolution out of the human beings who are leading the company. So I don't have a better solution than sending them to both. That's first, period.
Y'all heard that. Boom.
Yes, this isn't just about you going as leader. Take every leader in your company and get them in bold, and get them in bold right now. And if they resist, fully resist, if they're like, well, I thought I was going to go to bold and fix everyone around me, I'm sorry, they don't have a place on our seat. So my patience is, I'll create the space, I'll create the environment, I'll provide bold, the tool. But my tolerance is also very low. So if I run into a situation where somebody is literally resisting evolution, technology advancements, or change, or they are a naysayer, negative Nancy, constantly doubting, pessimist, always saying, why not? They got to go.
When there's a difference in those,
firm out.
In those people too, that are, if they're not also willing to explain and share their own point of view and have the conversation, if they're just, stick in the mud. I don't know the last time I used that idiom, but if they're not willing to at least trust the process be like, this is why I'm this way. It really is like what you're saying. It's hard to navigate beyond that with them on the team.
Well, and that's the choice, because for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, send them to Bold. If they don't work, you're gone. Bold helps. It helps people be open to different ideas and not be so stuck in just one way of thinking. And we're not talking about value systems. We're talking about sometimes we get stuck in what I can do versus what I can't do, limiting beliefs. And all of a sudden in the class, you get to see what's possible when you stop fighting what, the old way of doing things. And it jumpstarts people into action. It's all about problem solving. It's thinking different thoughts. It's working together. It's asking questions. It's getting, like, there's so many different things. And so you come out and you have the right culture, and they're willing to push back and say, hey, help me understand. They're not pushing back to go, you're wrong. They're willing to have a conversation because they're seeking to understand. And feedback is there. But they're also not afraid to take a risk, like a lot of times people have been in the past.
Yeah. I think everybody goes into Bold with, a kaleidoscope.
Sure.
Okay. Or remember the little thing where you flip the picture?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like everybody goes into Bold with that. Like most of the humans are walking around with a kaleidoscope over their eyes, right? And the blind spots are everything that you haven't been through, haven't seen, haven't felt, haven't done, right? That's everything outside of the kaleidoscope. And I think what Bold does is it makes you consciously aware you're wearing a kaleidoscope. And there's probably more out there that you haven't experienced, haven't seen, haven't felt, haven't touched, haven't been through. And it's like the definition of truth, I guess, right? The truth is only the truth to you. It doesn't mean it's the truth permanently. And once you identify that there's a different definition of truth, like gravity, I jump from tall building, I fall, I hit ground flat, right? That's truth.
Yeah.
That shit hurts.
That shit hurts. Splat.
Flat, right? We have to realize that if I change the way I see the world will fundamentally change. If I change the way I see something, that something can literally become something different. And until we draw the line that says that, I seek the truth in the way that I process information, the way that I make decisions, the way that I come to the table. I seek truth. And that I'm open to say that I may have kaleidoscope on, I may have blind spots all around me, but I'm here to seek truth. And that is a changed human, right? That's a changed human. When I understand that the stories I tell myself may or may not be true, but I'm seeking truth.
Yeah.
Right? So many humans are convincing themselves of bullshit that is not real, has never been real, and will probably never be real. And that holds them back more than anything, right? Yeah. It's this panic mode, this fear mode, AI is going to blank. Bullshit. Just stay there. Yeah. Like, if you stay there, you'll surely manifest the very thing you seek not to happen. Yeah. Like, get out of it. Stop. Right? We push away the things we want to see through these actions. So I just, Bold really helped our team. The voicemail I got from them coming down the mountain, the phone calls I picked up when they came down the mountain, brought me to tears every single time, because they came out of it and their version is, I've removed the kaleidoscope. My blinders are off. I know that there's more out there. I know that I can see further now. And I want to see further now. Yeah. I'm willing to see further now. I'm willing to dive in. I want feedback. I want to have the tough conversations. And I am more scared of change or not changing than I am of change. And if you can get that out of your people in 3 days, holy hell, we're changing the world.
Right? There's what I was thinking about, the topic of change and evolving, transforming. There's that poem about struggle, and sometimes I share it because it's just so powerful. And it talks about this guy who sees this butterfly who is struggling to come out of a cocoon. So if you've ever seen a moth or a butterfly, they're wrapped in this cocoon And it takes them, like, they're just struggling to come out of this. So he's like, well, I'm going to help this butterfly emerge quickly. So he snips off the cocoon, thinking that he's going to save this butterfly's struggle and it could fly faster. And what he didn't realize is that in his haste to help, he actually crippled the butterfly, because the cocoon and the struggle is what forces fluid into the wings. And without that struggle, the butterfly could never fly. And you flip that into humans, and we look at change, we look at adversity, at heart, especially the people we love, and you see them going through things. And sometimes we just want to freaking cut that cocoon off and go, come on, baby, you got this. I'm going to help you. But without the struggle, they don't get the wings to fly. They become crippled. They don't learn the tools. Struggle, change builds character. And when you're on the right team, the right seat, and you have people who help you, support you, encourage you, give you a safe place, what you're capable of doing is mind-boggling.
Well, wait, this is fascinating, because I was gonna ask the question later of like balancing change with steadiness, because I'm cool. Like in most companies, I've been known as like the brakes guy. Like somebody comes with a big change, and I'm like, well, hold on, let's really think about it and dive into it. And so as a CEO, founders of companies, it can't be 100% change all the time. It can't be 0% change. But I like that analogy because it really paints the picture of like, something's not working, I need to change it. But if you just give it a moment, it will do what it needs to do. So, Jen, as the visionary of your company, how do you balance that? Like, this needs to change, but also we need to trust the process. How do you balance that in communicating that to your teams and knowing when the right time to change is?
That's a good one. So for me, change is very systemic, and I have a process for it. And I also have a small group on our team that is responsible for pausing my throttle.
Yeah. People around you who are the brakes. Yeah.
You know, it's like watching her is like literally they have to pause my throttle.
That's very
Jennifer does not pause
before the brakes too. Like my background is logistics, supply chain management, systems and processes. So there is a system for everything, including change and including evaluation and including the throttle. So I have to put people around me. So Brandon and Melanie, right? Those are my, that's my filter. And then I have also, planted human beings in the company that are the champions, right? And I have planted people in there that are the skeptics that will ask all of the hard questions and make sure that I've thought everything through. And I think every one of those roles is critical, but knowing who they are and making sure that they're part of a process, right? I want to make sure that those who are responsible for the throttle will let me know if now's the time, or if they're like, that's a great idea, we should absolutely do that. However, I want to hold till summer. I think that's in our best interest. Like, I put that in one space, and then I take the same thing to the champion, because that's my hype people, man. Let's go. Next thing you know, we're up till 4 a.m. for 10 days straight. And like, oh my gosh, we're already creating it behind the scenes. And we're like, shh, don't tell the throttle people.
Oh my gosh.
Look at the hype, right? I love that. And then I take whatever we've created without telling the throttle people. We take what we've created and we slide it under the table with the pessimists and the naysayers and the ones that are going to poke holes in it until we fix it. And then we bring it back to the throttle people, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's not actually going to be as big of a shift, and it's going to provide more value if we sooner or not, either way, right? And then, so I have this kind of machine that I go through, And sometimes I'm able to bring it back and go, because the initial thought was, oh, that's too big. Like right now, I'll give you an example because it seems so hypothetical, but right now, so I want to build our own LLM, utilizing open source, our own AI. And I want our own AI to be able to create agents that perform functions within the business. So I have the business, they're all responsible for identifying small processes that have to be done on a regular basis that impact 2 or more people every day. That's like priority number 1. 2 or more people every day, small process. They document it. That goes to a team that we're building these agents that can now replicate or take over that small, tiny process. It's done by 2 or more people every single day. Right? So I said, my first pitch was, let's build our own agents, or let's build our own LLM. Let's train our model. Let's build a whole group of agents that can automate processes in our entire team. And that's what I pitched to Brandon and Melanie, my throttle managers. And they're like, holy shit. Okay, pause, Jen. Calm down. We're going into busy season.
How are you going to keep up?
Right? They're like, what do you mean? Like, you're going to freak the team out. So then I go back and we build one. And that one small one, it only took us 3 days. And then we implemented it with a small stakeholder group and let them come back and say that I don't have to do that anymore because the agent does it. And they were like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't that complicated. It's bigger than it was. Can you do it again? And then next thing you know, it's like they're adding to the list for the finance department and the HR department. So awesome. I think for me, yes, consistency and repetition is critical. But at the same time, creating a model and a system within the organization that is constantly evaluating areas where you need to change. I think they both have to exist at the same time. But if it's not systematized, it's going to feel chaotic.
Yeah. You're creating change that is meaningful rather than just chaos and we don't know what's going on. We're just holding on.
Well, and that's, you bring up a really good point because a lot of people think that change, like they haven't defined the difference between change that comes from fear and panic. Which that's the death of companies. Right? And that's also probably more widely spread than change that is a systemic process to evolve and improve and reduce inefficiencies and reduce redundancies. And I do think that a lot of people their version of change is simply panic and fear. And that's a horrible place to live.
Yeah. Change because you have to, not because you want to.
Yeah. Well, it's the shift. Cutting off the cocoon.
Yes.
Because you're like, just gotta get this done.
Yeah.
But it's what I'm hearing you say too is like you're collaborating strategically in different groups that are safe, and then you pull it together, which doesn't freak people out as much. They use their gifts, their strengths, you bring them together in a different way, and you're communicating. And I think in change, with any change, communication is core.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and make them part of the process. So the fact that I told the team, tell me what exhausts you. Tell me the tasks that you just that are a total pain and that you would love to not have to do them anymore. Start with that, and then we'll prioritize. We have a little matrix, so they go into an evaluation tool, and the tool automatically, all they have to do is answer like 5 or 6 different questions. So the frequency of the task, the number of hours of the task, the influence on the task on our clients, the impact on the task on our 4 KPIs, the impact on the task on people. They just go in and select these 4 things, and the system will automatically evaluate that. And so we know the level of difficulty. What's the LOE? Is it going to be short and easy win with a big impact, or is it going to be a big project with less of an impact? But the system will automatically, because we built the system for change requests first, right? And everything is assigned a weight. So if you answer 5 questions, it'll automatically weight every single thing, and it'll prioritize where we can create the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time. And Now it's systematic change.
Do you, within change within your, I'm listening to your 5 questions, and all of a sudden in my mind, I hear that book, What's Your Working Genius? Have you ever read that book or heard of it? So it's, when I look at change within people, change within organizations, sometimes your gifted, your strength is in a certain area, and yet we're put into different roles where it exhausts us. When you said, tell me what exhausts you, I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, but I love doing that. And I think even if you can strategically place your people in the right roles within change, using that, I love, like, I'm like, I need to get certified in this. You would get so much more out of people, and it doesn't scare them as much. Am I the one that's seeing it through? Do I love to collaborate and brainstorm? Do I love to build teams? Am I the one that takes it on my back? I'm like, I want to do it, you know?
Yeah. I think it's little statements. Like, for me, I always say, just imagine if you had the XYZ, and they're like, and you can see this kind of weight. Instead of saying, I could build a tool that blah, blah, like, just imagine if you didn't have to do the piece anymore. How would you reallocate your time? What's a better use? I mean, the other thing I've done with the team is they understand what an HLA is. That's a high leverage activity, right? And once you understand a high leverage activity, it's those things that only I can do. Can't be automated, can't be outsourced. It can't be shipped. It's what are the highest leverage activities that create the greatest value? And then I think that once you give people a clear definition and the ability to identify what are my HLAs, and understand that your HLAs alter as your role changes, as you move up in the company. Obviously, my HLAs are very, very different than they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I think that's critical. I also think that it's critical that the team understands the difference between clarity over certainty. Like, I want to make sure that we have a clear vision of where we're going. We don't have to be certain about how to get there yet. Like, that's part of that's a group, that's a project, is to get certainty. So, but clarity is, this is where I want to go. Make the decision to go there. How you get there, that's a project. It's an ABC 1, 2, 3. Simplify it. Break it into steps. What's the process for identifying the certainty, the clear path in order to get where you want to go, the end result? But I think if they don't have clarity on where they want to go, what are you doing?
So that goes back into vision. We've been talking about the mindset, and you have to have a clear vision so you know where you're going. And the thing is certainty, nothing's guaranteed. We have a path, we have this vision, and we start to walk and work this plan, and all of a sudden something changes. Well, as long as you know the vision, then you fail forward, you get back up, you pivot, but at least you keep going towards that vision.
Yeah, and have a system. So like our SOP management system, the way that I have it structured is you create a standard operating procedure that's attached to a goal that's attached to your vision. And it requires verification on a schedule, right? So every SOP in the entire organization has a verification system, which requires that on a quarterly basis, you go back in, you reassess the SOP according to the vision and the mission and the goal, and you reestablish those. So I'm so happy you guys are going the EOS route. I'm really excited about that, because that, like, having a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year vision, mission, and goal, right? That's critical now.
Yeah.
But those 90-day review points, I call them verifications, those 90-day verifications of, are we on the right path? Do we need to pivot? Are we on the path? Do we need to pivot? Are we on the right path? Do we need to pivot? That is going to be more critical now than ever. We're not in an environment where you can create a 12-month plan and just stick to it blindly without pivoting, adopting, reevaluating. We're not there anymore. That is gone. The technology advancements, consumer adaptations to new technology, it is changing so rapidly. And whatever you think you've seen as far as change around you previously, you haven't seen shit yet. like 2025, 2026, 2027. I mean, it's, we can't ignore the fact that technology evolution and consumers' adoption of technology because of the efficiencies it creates in their life is happening faster than the small businesses that are supporting those consumers. And they're, even right now, if you look at small business owners, I talk to them, I tell them to take their business hat on, and I'm like, just tell me about you guys, your family, what do you guys love? What do you expect? What are the new technologies and gadgets? What'd you get for Christmas? I just had this conversation the other day. What'd you get for Christmas? And the guy was like, oh my gosh, so I got these glasses and they're these Ray-Bans and they have the AI and they talk to me and they play the music and they read my text and they read my email. They do all these things. And I was like, awesome. Then why am I having a hard time telling you that your customers need to be able to text you as a company owner? Stop it.
Yeah. Well, that was my other question was, how do you help change within your industry? Because you have a lot of people who have, they're older, right? They're more stuck in their way of doing things, but change is happening so fast, so rapidly. So how do you bring them on board without scaring them?
I was good until you had the last sentence.
Because sometimes when people get scared, they shut down and they don't, even though they know it's good for them, they won't do it because fear is paralyzing them. Or then they don't want to be told what to do. It's one or the other.
So this is probably not the right answer, but it's the truth. I don't have time to beat my head on the wall and convince somebody who doesn't want to reassess. So my view is I'm not a driven leadership coach. So I tend to come to the table with,
I love how honest you are.
If no, you need to freaking change. If this is going to be, I'm not a therapist and I don't get to spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 3 days with you. I get to spend an hour in this session and this call at this event on stage. And then my team, I'm either setting up my team for failure because you are going to fight them as if you already know what you should do every step of the way, or you're going to collaborate with them and you're going to listen and you're going to ask good questions and you're going to show up, you're going to suit up and you're participate. But I'm not going to set my team up for someone who is going to constantly buck the system and fight them ever. That's a different session. That's go to getting driven leadership, like go get a counselor or coach or something. Yeah. So I wish if I had a different business model, I would build a system to change humans. In our business, I do feel like because of the limited amount of time that I have, because I have a 1 hour podcast or 1 hour on a stage or 1 hour in a strategy session, I do feel like I probably do scare them.
Though it's
period of time.
So what you just said is exactly when Simon Sinek talks about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And when you are clear on who you are and your vision and why you do what you do, you will attract people who want to do business with you. People who do not believe like you believe, that's okay. There's someone else there for them. And I think a lot of times we get stuck as businesses thinking it's a survival mindset. Well, we'll just take this person, we'll do this. And we start to get away from our core philosophies and values. And when you truly look at who you are and what you believe and you stay true to that, then it's okay. Some will, some won't. So what next?
Yeah.
There's somebody else who is there for you.
Yeah. We can't help everybody, right? Can't have everything. Where would I put it? I only have so much space.
Okay, so one last question. What are you doing to work and change and evolve yourself? What's your next level?
So, to be very, very, very frank, right now, I am in technology hell. I I am learning about LoRa and imprompts and agents and lang change. I feel like I just like am in the process of trying to understand the blockchain. I feel like this is the closest period of time, the closest window of time that I have to reference to right now was when crypto came out, and my kids sat me down on the couch and took away our phones, and they made us learn Bitcoin and finance and how crypto worked and blockchains and all of this stuff. And I felt like that was my brain is I'm going to have to empty a whole bunch of stuff, make a space. I think that right now, what I am doing is I am dedicated. I spend probably 3 to 4 minimum per day studying technology that is way the hell over my head. Understanding the infrastructure of how AI agents, how the LLMs function, how to build AI agents. I mean, if you can imagine, like I was listening to a podcast the other day, who was CEO of NVIDIA and the CEO and the CTO of Salesforce. Was it? No, it wasn't Salesforce. HubSpot. These guys are on there, and they said that they launched AI or agents.io. So in their mind, within the next year, there's going to be a platform that is filled with agents, no different than Facebook, social media network. And these agents will have their own wallet, their own crypto wallet. And these agents will have a function, task that they can perform, and they'll have a mission to improve their tasks and get better at it, better at performing the tasks, right? These agents will have the ability to go hire another agent, test them for a while, leave them a review, say whether or not they were good or bad, or whether they helped, contract with them if that helps them accomplish their mission better or faster, put their crypto credit card on file, and hire them on contract, review, analyze, communicate, network, and work with each other. Like, we're 12 months away from the human beings that are in our company, not managing a team of people, but the people on our team managing a team of agents that perform functions. So if you look at where AI is just a brain, right? And you got to go in there and you got to get it to do things and so forth. But when you build an agent that has a sequence of tasks and workflows, and it's connected to third-party applications and other tools and so forth, now it can perform tasks. And that's where we're headed. So long story short,
does it scare you?
Hell no. Well, you know what scares me is that brain right now is on a computer. It's on your watch. It's now on my Ray-Bans, right? And that brain is also in a robot. So do I feel like 7 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know how long, like some robot's going to shut down all the Teslas in the world and I can't drive my freaking car? I'm going to be pissed. Yes, it's probably going to happen. I do believe that we are going to face kind of, digital warfare in some way, shape, or form that we've never seen in our life, and that we should prepare for that. But it doesn't scare me enough to say that I'm not going to take full advantage of this until like they decide they want to, iRobot us or whatever. So does it scare me? It scares me more not to adapt and evolve and understand how the technology works and how to leverage it than it does that, they're going to come marching through our city and say people are old and should die. I don't know. Whatever.
Just asking that question because change, right? Change is always evolving. And when you started the podcast, you were talking about when you were at Nordstrom's and how even if you didn't know it, you were looking for mentors. You would follow that lady out on her smoke break just to learn from her. And it was like, like your dad said, change is here. So suck it with a smile, right? It's like literally going, all right. So it's the same mindset. It's just years down the road. And if you know what worked then and looking at what's keeping you up at night, but how do you go to sleep at night? Because as you run this amazing team, as you run this amazing organization, as you're out there touching and changing the world, remember to take care of you. Because change, it can be fun. And you're going to make that impact that helps people think differently.
Yes, ma'am. I am sleeping, but I'm also mapping out stuff on my ceiling all night with my eyes closed.
Remember to dance.
Yeah.
Have your dance parties.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't go away. Like, I think because I have a love for music, I boogie every day. I boogie in the car, I boogie in the shower, I boogie while cleaning the kitchen.
And I just say that just because you're such a high level, just go, 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 go. And just remember that there's power in the pause at times, because the more you can go, whoo, how do I quiet the chaos for a moment? Even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get grounded.
Yes.
It helps ground the people around you.
I agree with that. And
thanks for being on here.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully to scare off everybody from your
No, and I would say we have like 5 minutes and I have to jump on, but I just want to say, any last thoughts, any last words that you didn't get to share regarding any of the what we're talking about that you would like to end it on?
So, I don't know. Just, I think that, I talked about a whole bunch of really big things. I think that there's simple things that everyone should look at for 2025, depending on when you're listening to this stream, right? So, simple things, right? Figure out 5 things in 2025 where AI can help you provide better service, get better information, perform better. Like one tiny little thing. So we have evolved our entire web building process to building AI-enabled website. Something small like that. If you take a WordPress website and you take an AI-enabled website, it's like putting a Ford, I shouldn't say Ford, whatever, Pinto, Honda, I don't know. It's like, don't be offended, right? Putting a regular car to a Tesla Cybertruck at a light. One small change. And that change, the impact of that is off the gate, you can go from 0 to 103.5 seconds compared to the slow roll. Off the gate, you eliminate all of the maintenance and security issues. Off the gate, like one little tiny change that doesn't actually require you to do much can put you in a huge, a tremendous competitive advantage. So don't freak out. Like, find 1 or 2 things that can propel you, compress time, and get comfortable with, oh, that wasn't that difficult, and I need one from that, and then do it again. Like, don't freak out. Just calm your nerves, right? Calm your nerves.
It's the power of the 1%.
Yes. Do one thing, and then do it again. Do it again, and do it again. Okay?
Thank you so much for being here. I freaking love you. Excited to see what 2025 holds for you and CI Web Group. Woo!
Yes.
Look out, world.
Let's go.
So
all
much.
in.
That's right.
Oh. All in, baby.
Yo. Got it.
Let's go. Honor busted. You owe us lunch.
You do.
Oh my goodness. Well, as always, thanks so much for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed that episode, go check out last week's episode where we kicked off this series about change management. It was a really fascinating topic for us. And so we have a couple of more episodes coming out in the future around this topic. And, Jen mentioned our Bold Advanced Leadership class. If you're interested in attending that class or just learning more about what it is, we'd love for you to reach out to us at podcast@drivenleadership.com. We actually have a few dates coming up in February and in March, and we would love for you to be there. Also, shoot us an email. We'd love to get you in touch with Jen Bagley over at CI Web Group. They do amazing work, and as you can tell, they're very passionate about staying on top of the future of this technology, which means the best for their customers. So again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in next week's episode.